The emergency klaxons screamed across the Galactic Council chambers as representatives from 47 species materialized in their attendance pods. For the first time in 3,000 years of galactic civilization, every single member had answered an emergency summons within the hour. The reason was unprecedented and terrifying. Someone was about to make the worst military decision in recorded history, and the entire council was begging them to stop. Commander Vextal of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the central podium, his scaled form radiating confidence as he addressed the panicked assembly. The Zephyrians had ruled through fear for over a millennium, their military machine crushing 847 worlds without a single defeat. Their plasma cannons could crack continents. Their dimensional shields deflected any known weapon, and their war fleets had never retreated for battle. Vextal wore his victories like armor. Each conquered world a medal of honor burned into his memory. Honored council members. His voice boomed through the translators, dripping with condescension. Your concern for our latest expansion is noted, but unnecessary. The third planet of the Sol system presents no tactical challenge worthy of your attention. Elder Counselor Thane of the Altarian Republic shot upright in his pod, his crystalline form pulsing with urgent blue light. Commander Vextal, you must reconsider. We have observed this species for decades. They possess characteristics that defy conventional military analysis. The Centaurian delegate's tentacles writhed in agitation. 12 separate species have attempted to test human responses over the past century. All 12 withdrew their forces voluntarily rather than continue engagement. There is something fundamentally different about these beings. Vextal's laugh echoed through the chamber like breaking glass. Different? My intelligence reports show a species that still fires metal projectiles from chemical propellants. They have not achieved faster-than-light travel. Their largest vessels cannot even escape their own gravity well without massive chemical rockets. What exactly should concern the Zephyrian Empire about such primitives? Counselor Kree of the Vegan Collective leaned forward, her voice tight with warning. Commander, human persistence exceeds all known parameters. When injured, they fight harder. When outnumbered, they coordinate better. When facing extinction, they become more dangerous, not less. Their pack bonding extends beyond their own species to any being they consider worthy of protection. Pack bonding, Vextal sneered, a weakness that causes them to waste resources protecting the inferior. This only confirms their tactical inadequacy. The ancient ethereal counselor spoke for the first time in 50 years, her voice like wind through dead leaves. Young Zephyrian, your species sees strength only in domination. Humans see strength in something you cannot comprehend. Unity through choice rather than fear. They adapt faster than any species we have documented. Within hours of first contact, they begin learning, changing, evolving their responses. Vextal's confidence never wavered. Adaptation means nothing against superior firepower. Our preliminary scans show they cannot even penetrate our basic shielding systems. This discussion wastes valuable time. Thane's desperate voice cut through the chamber. We offer you the Rigel system instead. 3 habitable worlds, abundant resources, no sentient resistance. Or the Kepler territories, entirely uninhabited but rich in rare metals. Name your price, Commander, but leave the humans alone. The offer hung in the air like a condemned man's final words. The Galactic Council had never offered alternative targets to prevent a war. They had never begged anyone to reconsider military action. The implications sent ripples of unease through every delegation except one. Vextal turned his back on the assembly. The Zephyrian Empire has chosen its target. In 72 standard hours, our battle fleet will arrive at Earth. Their surrender will be swift, their integration into our empire efficient. This council session is concluded. As the Zephyrian delegation vanished from their pods, the remaining counselors exchanged looks that spoke of terrible knowledge. They had done everything possible to prevent the coming catastrophe. Now they could only wait and document what would surely become a cautionary tale told across the galaxy for millennia to come. The ethereal counselors' final words whispered through the chamber as the session ended. They chose their path. May the universe forgive us for what they are about to awaken. 72 hours later, the massive Zephyrian war fleet materialized above Earth like a steel storm cloud. 200 ships, each the size of a human city, cast shadows across entire continents. The flagship alone stretched 40 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull bristling with weapons that could turn mountains to glass. Commander Vextal stood on his bridge, watching the primitive blue world spin helplessly below. The surrender demand broadcast in 47 Earth languages simultaneously. Standard Zephyrian protocol required 24 hours for compliance, though Vextal expected capitulation within minutes. No species had ever required the full deadline when faced with the Empire's overwhelming display of force. Global chaos erupted as 7 billion humans received their first confirmation that they were not alone in the universe. Stock markets crashed, communication networks overloaded, and panic spread through every major city. Emergency sessions convened in every capital as world leaders struggled to comprehend the impossible reality hanging in their skies. President Sarah Chun stared at the alien ships through the White House bunker's reinforced windows. Military assessment, General Martinez. What are our options? General Rodriguez Martinez pulled up holographic displays showing the technology gap. Madam President, our most advanced weapons can't even reach their lowest ships. Nuclear arsenals might scratch their paint. Kinetic bombardment from orbit could end human civilization in hours. Prime Minister James Wright's voice crackled through the secure video link from London. Our physicists estimate their energy shields could deflect anything we possess. We're fighting with stone knives against plasma cannons. Chancellor Anna Volkov nodded grimly from Moscow. Conventional warfare is impossible, but surrender means slavery for our entire species. The decision took exactly 17 minutes. Every nuclear power, every standing army, every intelligence agency on Earth received the same order. Coordinate, share everything, and make the invaders pay for every inch of ground. What happened next defied every Zephyrian tactical manual. Within 6 hours, humanity had established a unified command structure that included former enemies. Russian satellites shared targeting data with American missile systems. Chinese manufacturing began producing standardized ammunition for NATO weapons. Israeli intelligence coordinated with Pakistani military planners. Vextal watched the first human resistance attempts with amusement. Primitive kinetic missiles bounced harmlessly off Zephyrian shields. Nuclear warheads detonated against dimensional barriers like firecrackers against fortress walls. The human military response seemed exactly as pathetic as predicted, but something was wrong. The humans weren't fleeing. Civilian populations evacuated with military precision while maintaining supply lines to resistance fighters. Instead of mass panic, Vextal observed coordinated defiance. Major cities emptied in hours, but the evacuees moved to prepared positions rather than hiding in fear. Then came the first surprise. A damaged Zephyrian scout craft crashed outside Denver. By the time recovery teams arrived 6 hours later, human engineers had completely reverse-engineered the plasma cooling system and begun manufacturing crude copies. The speed of analysis and adaptation sent the first ripple of unease through the invasion fleet. "Sir," reported Subcommander Kex Ran, "the humans are weaponizing everything. Civilian vehicles loaded with explosives, skyscrapers converted to firing positions, underground networks appearing faster than we can map them." Vextal dismissed the concern. Desperate acts of a dying species increased bombardment intensity, but the humans kept fighting and learning and adapting. Each engagement taught them something new about Zephyrian technology, tactics, and weaknesses. What started as hopeless resistance began evolving into something far more dangerous. The invasion that should have ended in hours stretched into its third day, and Commander Vextal faced an impossible reality. He needed reinforcements to conquer a species that hadn't even achieved interstellar flight. By day 7, the Zephyrian invasion force was fighting an enemy that shouldn't exist. Human soldiers had been engaged in continuous combat for over 30 hours without yielding a single strategic position. When wounded, they fought harder. When cut off from supplies, they improvised weapons from debris. When facing certain death, they charged forward with sounds that chilled Zephyrian blood. Subcommander Kex Ran reviewed casualty reports with growing horror. "Sir, medical teams report humans continuing to fight with injuries that should be fatal. A human soldier with a severed arm used it as a club before picking up a plasma rifle with his remaining hand. Vextal's confidence cracked for the first time in his military career. They should have broken by now. Every psychological profile indicates species capitulate after 72 hours of sustained bombardment. But humans weren't just enduring, they were evolving. Zephyrian plasma technology, jealously guarded for centuries, was being reverse-engineered in makeshift laboratories within hours of capture. Human engineers welded alien power cores to their primitive railguns, creating hybrid weapons that punched through dimensional shields like paper. Civilian hackers cracked Zephyrian communication encryption faster than military specialists could change the codes. The pack bonding phenomenon that Counselor Kree had warned about manifested in ways that defied Zephyrian understanding. Former enemies shared resources without hesitation. Children carried ammunition to soldiers, while elderly civilians operated communication networks with unwavering resolve. Most disturbing of all, humans treated captured Zephyrian wounded with medical care, while their own fleet showed no such mercy. Status report on Sector 7. Vextal demanded. Lost, sir. Human forces coordinated a counterattack using our own plasma cannons. They're not just defending anymore. They're hunting our ground teams. Intelligence reports painted an increasingly terrifying picture. Humans possessed weapons capable of sterilizing planets, but hadn't used them. Their industrial capacity could mass-produce nuclear arsenals within weeks, yet they maintained restraint. They weren't fighting with their full capability. They were choosing to fight a defensive war, and that choice made them infinitely more dangerous. The breakthrough came when human hackers infiltrated Zephyrian tactical networks. Within minutes, every human resistance cell had access to real-time fleet positions, weapon specifications, and battle plans. The technological advantage that had defined Zephyrian supremacy for a millennium evaporated in a single data breach. Vextal stared at reports showing human forces manufacturing Zephyrian-grade plasma rifles in converted automobile factories. How is this possible? Our technology requires decades of specialized training. Sir, they're not following our manufacturing protocols. They're improving them. Human-modified plasma weapons are actually more efficient than our originals. The psychological impact on Zephyrian troops was devastating. They faced an enemy that treated wounded aliens with compassion while systematically dismantling their invasion force with capture technology. Human emotional speeches rallied not just their own species, but inspired other Council species watching the broadcasts. For the first time in Zephyrian military history, ground troops requested evacuation. The species that had never known defeat was learning fear from beings they had dismissed as primitives. On day 12, intercepted human communications revealed the truth that shattered Vextal's worldview. Phase 2 of human defense involved orbital weapons platforms constructed from salvaged Zephyrian technology. The prey had become the predator, and Commander Vextal finally understood why the Council had begged them to stop. Day 14 brought the breaking point. The Zephyrian invasion fleet operated at 40% combat effectiveness, while human resistance grew stronger with each passing hour. Captured alien technology was being mass-produced in facilities that had manufactured civilian goods just weeks earlier. The first human counterattack struck the flagship using weapons that bore Zephyrian energy signatures, but human engineering improvements. Sub-Commander Kex Rand delivered the casualty report that ended an empire's delusions. Sir, we've lost more personnel in 2 weeks on this primitive world than in our last 12 planetary conquests combined. Ground forces are requesting immediate evacuation. Vextal stared at tactical displays showing human forces preparing orbital strikes against his own fleet. Evacuation? The Zephyrian military has never retreated. Sir, with respect, we've never faced anything like this before. Intelligence revealed the strategic nightmare that sealed their fate. Humans had reverse-engineered faster-than-light communication and broadcast the entire conflict across the galaxy. Species that had cowered before Zephyrian might for centuries watched primitive humans systematically dismantling the galaxy's most feared military force using captured weapons and impossible determination. Other Council species began volunteering aid to humanity. The Altarian Republic offered medical supplies. The Centaurian Collective provided manufacturing blueprints. The Vegan Collective sent strategic advisors. What started as a simple conquest had become a galaxy-wide recruitment campaign against Zephyrian supremacy. Vextal convened his final command, meeting aboard a flagship scarred by human plasma fire. Strategic assessment. Can we achieve victory objectives? The silence stretched like a death sentence before his tactical officer spoke. Negative, sir. Human forces are preparing Phase 3 operations. They've constructed weapons platforms capable of pursuing our fleet beyond this system. We cannot win this war. The words no Zephyrian commander had ever spoken hung in the air like poison. For 1,200 years, retreat had been inconceivable. Now it was the only option for survival. The evacuation began under constant human harassment, but with an indignity-destroying twist. Human forces offered safe passage for Zephyrian wounded. Medical ships departed unmolested, while weapons platforms tracked every combat vessel with obvious restraint. The psychological warfare was perfect. Humans could have annihilated the retreating fleet, but chose mercy over vengeance. Within hours of Zephyrian withdrawal, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Commander Vextal's report marked the first military defeat in his species' recorded history. The political implications rippled across known space, as humanity received an unprecedented invitation to join the Council as equals rather than subjects. 6 months later, the galaxy operated under new realities. The Terra Clause prohibited unprovoked attacks on Death worlds. Aggressive species reconsidered expansion plans after studying human tactical recordings. The Zephyrian Empire, its reputation shattered, sought human military consultation for defensive strategies. Humanity established trade relationships and diplomatic missions across 47 systems, while maintaining the orbital defense platforms that had ended Zephyrian supremacy. They became galactic peacekeepers not through conquest, but through the demonstrated ability to end any conflict while treating enemies better than most species treated allies. The lesson echoed through council chambers and military academies across the galaxy. Never invade a species that treats its enemies with more compassion than you show your friends. The Zephyrians chose to invade Earth, and the galaxy learned why that was a mistake no civilization would repeat.